Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. This is Abdul Ghaffar Abbasi here. Today we will discuss the last topic of the mole and stoichiometric calculation, that is the limiting reactant. So let's look at into detail related to the topic, that is the limiting reactant. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. These are the contents of the day. As I have told you that earlier, that we will discuss the limiting reactant and we will solve some questions related to the limiting reactant. So first of all, what do you mean by the limiting reactant? How you will define it? A reactant that is completely used up in chemical reaction is called limiting reactant. In other words, you can say it limits or determines the amount of the products formed in the reaction. Number one point, that is it is basically a reactant in the chemical reaction which is completely used up initially first. That is called the limiting reactant, which is completely consumed in the reaction first initially, right? Then second point is that it limits or determines the amount of the product formed in the chemical reaction. Then the last, the reactants that are used up in the reaction are called the reactants that are not used up in the chemical reaction, means they are remaining, they are called excess reactant. There are two types of reactant in chemical reaction. When they react with one another, they form a product. One is limiting reactant, which is initially consumed, completely consumed, and then second one which is remaining, that is called the excess reactant. Now directly we are moving towards the calculation. The reaction between zinc and sulfur produces a large amount of heat which can be used to to propel some rockets to start up, to give the energy for the rockets, that they can then they will start. So this is the chemical equation: zinc and sulfur. Zinc sulfide is produced. Zinc is in solid, sulfur is in solid, and zinc sulfide is also in solid state. When when 13 grams of powdered zinc was heated with 8 gram of the powdered sulfur, a vigorous reaction occurred and zinc sulfide uh, that is formed. Now identify the limiting reactant in this reaction and then calculate the mass of the excess reactant. These are the two main questions being asked related to this the question. In the A part, that we have to identify which one of the either zinc or sulfur is limiting reactant. Then we have to calculate the excess amount of the reactant which is in excess. So the steps are same. In the first step, find the number of moles of each reactant. First of all, we have to find the number of moles of each reactant, zinc and sulfur. Zinc mass is 13, sulfur 8, divided by their atomic mass. To answer will be, number of moles of zinc will be 0.2, number of moles of sulfur will be 0.25. In the step 2, find the mole ratio in the reactant. So it's very much clear in the chemical equation that mole ratio of zinc and sulfur is 1:1. So number of moles of sulfur will be equal to the number of moles of the zinc. So if the ratio is same, so the number of moles of sulfur should be same to the number of moles of the zinc. So the answer we will find that is 0.2. Here 0.2 moles of the sulfur is 0.25 moles of the sulfur is used. Look at this one. So the sulfur is in excess because we have in the step 2 through the mole ratio we have find out that the moles should be 0.2, and but when we go to the number of moles of sulfur and zinc, So number of moles of sulfur, that is 0.25, is being used, so it's an excess, understood. And zinc is the limiting reactant. Now the B part, number of moles of unreacted, or which is in excess. So total number of moles is 0.25, and when we will subtract the value from this, that is 0.20 or 0.2, so the answer will be 0.05 mole of the sulfur which is remaining. This is in excess. So the mass of the unreacted sulfur, what how we will calculate the mass of the unreacted sulfur, this is the number of moles we have obtained from this data. Now we have to write the number of moles multiply by the molar mass. So the number of moles which we have obtained, that is 0.05, and then we will multiply with the molar mass of the sulfur, that is 32. The answer is 1.6 gram. 1.6 gram will be the mass of the sulfur which is unreacted, and that is in excess, as we have already discussed and calculated. So this was about the limiting reactant and how to calculate the limiting reactant, and then excess reactant also, and how to calculate the mass of the excess reactant. So I hope you understood this very important concept and calculation in this video. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.